Welcome to the Friendly Natter. We are back. We've got Cailean, we've got Racheal, and we're going to talk about something that we're both really, really passionate about, which is our Silver Award. So we've got hundreds of schools now having gone through our Standard Award, and it's amazing. We're astonished, we're astounded by the commitment of our schools. What we'd really love to do is now take them all on this magical improvement journey, right, Cailean?
Yeah, I think demystifying Silver Award to just understand what that looks and feels like is really critical to me because we both love it. It's a really great opportunity for schools to share their story, which I think Standard Award gets the facts down really well against the framework. But facts fade, stories stick. And for us, it's the stories that really contextualize the framework to understand what is parent practice like really on the ground.
Yeah, no, it's a genuine pleasure. I mean, I've been really fortunate. I feel very fortunate to be the person that has, completed the assessments of those of our schools that have already gone through silver, of which there's quite a handful now. And to call them out, they've got some magnificent practice in their schools. But what I love about it so much more is that I get to see the humans behind the facts, and I think that humanizes everything we do. And they're such wonderful people, so warm. But what I also love is hearing the level of commitment that they bring to their practice, because what they're telling me are the things on the ground, the stories of their day-to-day work. And I get a genuine sense of how that school, A, really wants to partner with their parents, but also all of the really hard and stellar work that they're doing to achieve that. It's incredible. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I've yet to come across a school that isn't proud of what they do. The school team, their environment and facilities, the kids, like that's why we're working in education. It's certainly not for the bloody money. We're doing it because of the difference it makes. And every school leader I've come across really beams on video in our Silver Award because they get that platform to really share what they're most proud of, the difference that they make in their communities, the initiatives that have really giving them such that glow that I think we all get when we really know that we're having an impact with parents.
I think if we step back a bit then and we take people through some of the reasoning about the way that we did things. So, um, obviously, the first step is self-assessment for Standard Award, and that feels really important to me because it's the beginning of the journey. And what we're most interested in at that point is asking questions that schools have never been asked before to encourage them to go, oh my goodness, we probably should be doing that. And I hear that such a lot from our
Mm.
schools that I'm so glad you asked me that question. I'd never have thought of it, or we thought of it before, but we stopped doing it, and now we really want to start doing it again. So I think the beginning of our journey as a self-reflection feels right to me, because we just want to know if you've got practice in place, and how, to what extent that practice is in place, really. Silver's a little different to that. We want to, because Silver Award it requires 60%, not 40%. That's the one leap. But
Against our framework.
against the framework, yeah. But it's the difference of the level of confidence in what the school is doing. And we can only really hear that through the stories, but also how shared that practice is across the school, which again is much easier to hear across the stories that are being told, because people naturally bring in that, and then we did this, and they start using we, and then
Mm.
this group of people, and then this year group did this, and you get that general idea from it. What was your thoughts when we designed it this way?
I love it. I mean, looking at it with an ice cold eye for a second, the self-assessment is really scalable. So one thing that was really important to both of us was to make sure this would be inclusive and accessible for all schools across the UK. So this wasn't a budgetary issue for us, as a charity, as a not-for-profit. We literally ask schools to cover the cost of the school gate banner that we send them. And because we've made that self-assessment scalable, for our silver award, it comes at a cost because we have to pay for an assessor to deliver strong quality assurance, and they need wisdom and expertise to help with that from being on the ground, much like your good self, Rachel, with 20 years in delivering secondary education and being part of SLT yourself. So, Silver Award, allows us to make sure we can verify a school's results. So though you're self-accredited and you can't quite game our system, we put protections in place. You don't really know how effective you are at parent practice until we verified it. And I think that's when Silver Award really shines. So for me, it made sure that it was inclusive and accessible. So none of this was a difficult or financial barrier for schools. But Silver is where it's at for me in terms of getting those stories and really getting the external independent verification from Britain's biggest parent charity to make sure that you can really get the recognition for your school.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit about the mechanisms as well, because that too is designed in order to make it easy for the school. So we talk about videos, and that sounds intimidating. So let's break that down. So what we do is we send you a link, and you'll see my face. My face, oh, when it was summer. So I was slightly more tanned, and I was in a t-shirt. I looked mighty more jolly than I do now. And I will ask you questions. Now, those, as I've just alluded to, were recorded a long time ago. And so I'm not in the room with you, which is wonderful because there's not that immense pressure to be able to come up with the right answer immediately while I'm sat there staring at you, which is really intimidating, even for me when I stare at myself. No, I'm joking. But the what we then do is give you the opportunity to record your response in this piece of software. So you hear me ask the question, and then you record your response. And the best bit, you get to re-record if you hate what you said. But trust me, there comes a point. I don't know if Cailean, you're a one-off sort of take guy, but I'm not. I'm a 73 take girl. And there comes a point where it just doesn't get better. It just doesn't get better. You
Camera
have to.
confidence is always a challenge for people. I do get that. You and I are comfortable, but only because I've dragged you through it over a long period of time. Um, what my advice to schools is do it first time. It's authentic, it's real. We are never going to judge someone for stumbling or, saying, oops, actually scratch that. I want to talk about you'd have a live conversation with us. If you start to get into re-recording, part of the problem is what should take an hour takes two, takes three, takes five, it will take more time than you wish it to. And one of the technical consequences of our platform is you must record all of the answers in one go. You can't kind of drop it down and while you go and deal with an issue and come back later and pick it back up again, you'd have to restart. So it is one of those better to do really good preparation. So though you'll get a link, as Racheal said, you'll also get a 50-page digital guide. And you should have one of those physically that we gave you in your celebration box when you attained our standard award. Obviously, you need a standard award to do silver award. You can't do any jumpsies, skipsies. So you should have a 50-page physical asset, and we'll send you the digital, which will help you prepare. You can see all the questions that Racheal's going to ask. You can get some advice and see our full scoring mechanic as well. That was one thing that was really important to you, Rach, was to make sure we're being really transparent, right?
Yeah, I used to, as Karen alluded to, I used to be a teacher, and I used to hate it when processes were done to me. We've all been there. Somebody comes in and you don't know what they're looking at, but you know they're looking at you. You've not been told what the criteria is behind it. You've just been told you have to be good. And it's a scary process, and it's a little invasive and intrusive, to be fair. So instead of doing that, we've designed the booklet to be something that we partner together with. So you will see completely and utterly transparently how we go about marking it. And you'll even have the grid that we will use. And it's got BMT, which isn't a sandwich, as I was once asked. It's actually bottom, middle, and top. And so we place you within the bands. And unlike Ofsted, which is going to be secure fit, which is a wholly different philosophy, we are best fit. So what that means is we look across the full extent of your success, and then we find the best place to fit you within the model. So it might be still in some drivers you're coming out with standard award, but that's okay because in some other areas you're rocking gold. So it highly likely that you deserve, based on the balance of where all of those ticks are, to come out in silver. And you will see that also reflected in the report you get from your assessor, because they tell you all of those micro decisions they've made in that report as well. So it gives you an idea of how, again, transparently we've come to that decision. And then it allows you to have a conversation with us afterwards about why we thought that. So, yeah, no, it's super important to me.
I
Because,
agree. It's a booklet for you, and as Rachel's suggesting, the assessor uses the same thing. Like there's no secrets here. There's no behind the scenes. You got exactly the examination guide that we're going to take. So in your preparation for recording your videos, which is where all the magic happens, you can really think about what's my best example of this? What's the story I can tell that best exemplifies how we really are inclusive with our communications? Like, how do we really empower parent skills workshops? And how many people did we have attend that? What's the quantitatives of that? So you can do all your good preparations to make sure you're hitting all of those marks that are right across that document. So by the time you get to do your recording, you should have all the confidence you need. You know your story best. You've done your preparation against exactly how we're going to score it, and therefore we want to hear it, and therefore record it first time. That's my advice. Rachel's a re-recorder. I'm a first-time recorder. Keep
I
it
am
authentic because
I am a
it's
re-recorder because I don't like I sometimes I do this and no one needs to see that. So recording is important. But the I agree with you. Doing the first time authenticity is usually the first one you do is the best one. That's what I mean by it very rarely gets better, because you get more and more self-conscious as you go along. The other piece of advice, hugely big advice I would give you, is we have structured the videos to help. So each of the drivers are broken down into two videos on purpose. The first one is to tell us what you do, and the second one is to tell us what impact that's had. So what ethos and behaviours are you doing? And if you go through each of the initiatives, that really helps your marker as well. So in 1.1 we're doing this, 1.2 we're doing this. That really helps. But then the second video asks for those wonderful, wonderful stories of where you've seen genuine impact, and you can't be too specific. You can't be too specific, Cailean, because the story of Jack, who is now super excited to come to school every day because you chose to phone his mum the night before to make sure he was psychologically secure to come into school the next day,
Mhm.
because he knew exactly what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Chef's Kiss, I love those sorts of stories because what they do is bring alive um, the genuine impact on the ground of what parent participation is meant to be. So,
Yeah. We
yeah.
don't want the boring stuff. We can read that on your policies on your website. We can look at those documents for sure. What we want to hear is the stuff we can't see, which is, as you said, those magic moments on the ground. And Rachel, quick fire round. Have we ever not given a school silver because we didn't like the quality of their video?
No,
And have we ever punished a school in their silver award assessment because they were too specific or gave too much evidence?
no. Oh,
No.
no. We
You know,
love those
these are
schools.
just for us. So talk
Yeah.
to us as if Rachel were real in the room. We're able to keep the cost down because she isn't. So that's why we use the software to help you make sure, excuse my hiccups, to make sure that you're able to tell your story at its absolute best. But give as much and as varied detail. How much time do I have to record each video, Rach?
So basically, the beginning videos are really short because for the first three videos, I just need to get to know the school, because I know you know this, but schools are different, and schools across the countries, their context is important. I don't want to do a blanket assessment across all schools, so I want to get to know the people and the place and their reasons for doing it. So those are all
Mm.
2 minutes each. Then we get into the driver videos, and they're 4 minutes each. But remember, they're splitting. There's 10 videos across 5 drivers. So what we're looking to do there is, what are you doing? What are the stories of impact? 4 minutes each. And then at the end, because we're kind and fluffy and lovely, we want to give you a second opportunity. And there's every possibility that you're going to repeat yourself. at this point, which is but we're okay with that because it's a second opportunity to score against criteria. We want 4 minutes on the impact across the school of your parent participation, and we ask you to do it driver by driver this time. So we really focus you in on that sort of like overview of what impact you're having, and then the future. What's really important to me, I worked in education for 20 years. I have lived through many of a fad where something is super important that we do this year and next year we've forgotten we even did it. I don't want that to be the case for parent participation. So, our last question is, what is the future for parent participation at your school? How are you going to maintain the momentum that means this continues to be, because the outcomes are too important, right? Ultimately it's like 4 months for every child every year, which could be the difference between a child becoming someone not in education and training to someone going to university, right? I mean that is what's at stake. So that final video is massively important. How are you going to continue that momentum?
Yeah, indeed. As a charity, we're not here to assess you. Our goal as a charity is to make sure that we can bring schools and parents closer together. And we want to do that today. That's why we're so happy to partner with all of our schools. But of course, that's ongoing. It's an ongoing mission. Parents' requirements are going to continue to escalate. There's going to be continuing resource challenges for schools. We are your partner to help you navigate that. And Silver Award really helps you put a line in the sand, take a moment to really reflect on the brilliant practice, the fantastic team, and the expertise that you're delivering on the ground. And also, yeah, absolutely look to the future and say, where do you want to take it? What's that next big project that you want to focus on that's really going to connect with your parents? I love it. It's super, super good.
I love
Give me
it.
the best story you ever heard, Rach, without exposing the school. The best story you had.
There was a local guy who was from the Roma traveller community,
Mhm.
because inclusivity is massively important to us and reaching the widest variety of parents. And this guy moved around, and obviously the child moved around to different schools, but he landed on this school, and his child is still at this school. And the reason they gave was weirdly not the exceptional teaching and learning and practice, which I'm sure is in place, that meant that the parent was super happy with the way their child was learning. It's because they asked him on regular occasions to use his van to move things for them because the school really needed that help. So now that guy that is lives a relatively transient life by choice has suddenly found a sense of community and belonging with this school, and given his child that sense of stability of being at that school because the school did something a little bit special to reach out to it, and they did it on purpose. They embarrassingly called it targeting parents because we don't do that to parents. But what they did was they thought, who are my need to reach parents if we're going to really help this child? And then they reached out to him, and that's had a massive impact on that young girl. That that's the sweet spot for me. Where I mean, it's very specific, right? Remember what I said? But what it shows is that the school wants to get to those really the furthest reaches of their parents that feel the hardest to reach for it, and they understood the genuine impact it was going to have on the child, and that
Mm.
dot 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 joined for me.
I totally agree. Driver 4 is all about involvement in school life. And I think too many schools misdiagnose that as PTA volunteering or coming to help chaperone the prom or the sports day. Like some of the big stuff, but often the best volunteering or the most numerous is those little micro moments when you're right, you wouldn't really, neither the school nor the parent would diagnose themselves as a volunteer in, bringing their van in order to move stuff. But that's exactly what it is. Your parent community are a big pool of humans that have got skills, resources, wisdom that you can bring in to power up under-resourced schools more often than not. And
I
this is a
mean,
brilliant example of engagement and reciprocity on, bringing that parent in closer because you're asking a kindness of them, and in turn showing that back. It's a brilliant example, and we've got hordes more.
I mean, and that's a small, and he moved some soil to build something for the school garden, I think, if memory serves. But there are other schools I've worked with. I've just done the DFE tour and heard the stories of how the tradespeople in their school community came in and helped build the new building.
Mm.
So did the plumbing, did the electrics, and and that too is the same thing, but obviously on a much grander scale. But it goes to show that there's things in the community that can support the school, but in so doing brings the parents closer and helps them feel like they belong and are
What I love
part of
about
it.
both those examples, the parent moving the van and a huge community building a new wing of the school, is they're inclusive.
Yeah.
They're an example of the same practice, which is the values of leadership to engage parents with intent, with a creative ask and a facilitation of it. But obviously, economically, they are totally different. We're inclusive of every school based on the demographics and deprivation that their parent communities will have. For me, those are two common examples of practice, even though they're wildly different in terms of output. And that's maybe something to give you advice on with Silver Award, which is to your point you made earlier, we contextualize it. We're not looking for you to be the richest or have done the grandest thing. That's not the important piece here because it doesn't work for every parent community. Every parent just needs to be included and be participating, and it's the school's enablement of that we're measuring here, and that will be universal and unique in so many different factors. Mm.
And the last point I'll make before we bring this to a close is just the sheer privilege of hearing all of this practice. I feel so blessed to be one of the assessors who gets to listen to all of these stories and learn from it and become better myself. And I'm just so grateful to have the capacity then to be able to share that far and wide so that other schools can learn. Because the one thing I know for sure is getting parents involved is blooming hard. It's really hard. So all of these stories are also going to add to a repository of practice that can go out into the world and go, oh, have you thought about doing this? And I think that's awesome too. That's really awesome.
I totally agree. I totally agree. So, for our listeners, go check out the Silver Award booklet, which again, you should physically have in your celebration boxes, or you can find digitally on our website, or indeed get in touch with the team. You can take a look through everything that Rachel and I have chatted through and prepare for how you're going to best demonstrate and celebrate your team's achievement. And if you want to book in your Silver Award, you're very welcome to do so. So just get in touch with the team.
Thank you. Thank you.